Hello, today in English Literature with Susan, I'm here with a reading of Louise MacNeice's Autumn Journal. Of course, not the whole Autumn Journal, but a very famous part of the long poem is going to be covered here. But first of all, who was Louise MacNeice? Louise MacNeice was the Irish poet, but he spent a great part of his life in England. And about his poetics or the way he believes poetry has to be, he has many ideas that they are developed in the article about modern poets. But by the way, to sum up, Louis MacNeice is against the modernist tradition, especially what is propagated by T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot proposed that poetry should be a constant sacrifice of the poet, of the personality of the poet. Therefore, poetry has to become impersonal. Poetry becomes an escape, in T.S. Eliot's words, from the personality or the personal thoughts and feelings of the poet. But for Louis MacNeice, it is not so. MacNeice thinks that we should bring personality back to poetry. The personality of the poet, what the poet feels or seeks to be, is an important and integral part of a poem. So he thinks that poetry should be personal, and in Autumn Journal and many other poems, he expresses himself. So from that impersonal poetry, we turn back to an expressive poetry like the Romantics, in which the poet expresses his thoughts, feelings, states of the mind, and things like that. So Louis MacNeice's poetry is a poetry of the self. And alongside such views about poetry being personal, he also criticizes the modernist tradition, especially T.S. Eliot. He thinks that T.S. Eliot is too bookish, that everything to him is like a decor. I'm using MacNeice's words in that article. He thinks that T.S. Eliot hides words or he's stingy with words, while he thinks that a poet should be generous and benevolent with words, that he should use words so that we can understand him or her. This is how he interprets poetry to be, because in poetry you want to communicate, and if you want to communicate, you have to use words. You have to be clarified. So MacNeice thinks that poetry functions like language. And if language's task is to start a conversation, to communicate, to make people relevant to one another, so is poetry. Therefore, if you use the medium of language for poetry, you have to use it in a way which is comprehensible. You have to clarify yourself. That's why he uses words. He tries to express himself, like just like what he does in this part of the Autumn Journal we are going to read. So let's go and read this poem. But let me just provide you with a background of this poem as well. MacNeice was studying at a university, and he fell in love with a woman. That was an intense, great type of a love. But soon it turns out to be a triangle. So another man was in the relationship, and the woman opted or chose the other guy. So Louis MacNeice has written Autumn Journal to show his feelings towards this incident. But it is very interesting that he in this poem tries to tell us that nothing had changed the course of his love, that his love is the same though the relationship had broken up. The poem is about her, and he loves her with all her moods, all her characteristics. And he starts with this soft image: September has come, and I wake, and I think with joy how whatever, now or in future, the system, nothing whatever, can take the people away. There always be people for friends or for lovers, though perhaps the conditions of love will be changed. So I still love her, though the condition has changed. I no more have her physically. The conditions of love will be changed, and its vice diminished, and affection not lapse. Maybe, maybe the jealousies, the vices, the arguments, all the skirmishes, quarrels in a love relationship are not that now there, but it's for the better. Now I love you with a better quality because we are not in real contact, and affection not lapse. So my affection cannot lapse, and nothing can change it because we are not in a relationship anymore, so you cannot change how I feel about you. To narrow possessiveness, so we cannot just diminish or limit our love to narrow possessiveness, jealousy founded on vanity. So it's a purer kind of love because it is a love happening in the mind, and the physical realities of life cannot change or affect it. And now everything becomes related to her beloved. So the natural course of the seasonal cycles and everything happening in the autumn is just a result of her presence. So he looks everything from the angle point of a lover looking at her beloved, and everywhere he looks, he sees that woman. September has come, it is hers, whose vitality lives in the autumn. So the autumn wind, the movements of the air in the autumn, it is because of her vitality, of her livelihood, especially that the woman was a dancer. So it's as if that the autumn wind is because she moves in a dance, whose nature now it's autumn because her nature, whose nature prefers trees without leaves. So the trees and the leaves of the trees are falling because of her wish, because she prefers nature to look like that. And a fire in the fireplace. And because she prefers a fire in the fireplace, the weather is cold. So I give her this month. So I give her September because September has come because she wished it to come. It is her desire. So I give her this month and the next. So the whole of my year should be hers. And then he extends the contract of the seasons. Not only this season, not only this month, but all the years. A year is hers. All of the days of the year is hers because she has filled my days with her thoughts, has rendered already so many of its days intolerable or perplexed. Though you have made my days difficult, but so many more so happy. You have made many happy days for me, who has left a scent on my life and left my bones dancing over and over with her shadow, whose hair is twined in all my waterfalls. So the waterfalls are actually here, or the lines you see in the waterfall is her hair, just hanging there. And all of London littered with remembered kisses. And if the weather is a little bit humid and it's rainy, it is because of our kisses. So I'm glad that life contains her with her moods and moments. I think that the changes in life are because of the changes of her moods, more shifting and more transient than I had yet thought of as being integral to beauty. I know she's moody, I know she changes her mind a lot, but this is her beauty, this is integral to beauty, whose mind is like the wind on a sea of wheat. Her mind is like this, always in a change, always in a uh, state of moodiness. But I love this, and this is her beauty, whose eyes are candor. Her eyes are actually honest, whose eyes are candor, and assurance in her feet, like a homing pigeon, never by doubt diverted. So she can change course, but sometimes she's also very let's say standing on her idea. So she can be both, and that is her beauty. Is it this poem in general is a candid representation or explanation of love for someone, to love someone with all her or his characteristics, whether negative or positive, and he loves her holistically. with the unity of her being, with whatever she is. A perfect kind of love, he thinks, is like that. To whom I send my thanks, that the air has become shut silk. Coleridge famously in his poem Dejection Note says the fountains are within, the fountains of the beauty, what we see, what we feel is within us. And here MacNeice is saying the same thing. Because my heart is soft, I also feel the weather to be soft, that the air has become shut silk, the streets are music, and everywhere I'm there, I hear the music of life, the music of humanity, and that the ranks of men are ranks of men, no more ciphers. That I consider people, not as zeros. If I consider character for other people's characters, it is because of you, because I am capable of this, because I have you. I can consider other people because I know there is someone like you. So that if now alone I must pursue this life, now I'm alone. Now the relationship has broken up. It will not be only a drag from numbered stone to numbered stone, but your presence had such a great influence on my life that my life is now meaningful. There is a goal. It's not just moving from this house to other house. Numbered stone is a house, and numbered stone. Now, I feel life, but a ladder of angels. So my life is not moving from a kind of let's say horizontal movement. It's also vertical, but a ladder of angels, river turning tidal. This is the life you give to me. I feel that life is moving up the ladder of the angels, or I'm a river full of water, moving or floating with an ease. And now he calls up some of some of her maybe negative moods and characteristics. She's offhand, indifferent, at times hysterical, abrupt. You are one I always shall remember, whom Kant can never corrupt. You're not my love for you is not related to fashion or currents of the things. I will always love you with all my heart, regardless of what is fashionable, what type of a love is fashionable. I love you with the heart of my hearts, whom Kant can never corrupt, nor argument disinherit. And people cannot cancel my love for you with arguing for me that this is not the great type of love, or this is not the correct type of love. I love you. And then some other characteristics: frivolous. I'm sorry. You're carefree, always in a hurry, forgetting the address, frowning too often, taking enormous notice of hats and back chats. How could I assess the thing that makes you different? But all these negative moods and characteristics maybe make you different. These are special to you. And that's why I love you. I'm sorry. You, whom I remember, glad or tired. I remember you in both moods, glad or tired, smiling in drink, or scintillating anger. You're sometimes drunk, sometimes you're exciting, inopportunely desired. I desire you out of place, on boats, on trains, on roads, when walking. So I desire you everywhere and every time. Sometimes untidy, often elegant, so easily heard, so readily responsive, to whom a trifle could be an irritant or could be balm and manna. So you sometimes become or act in an unexpected way, in a surprising manner, but I love you anyway. With your untidiness, with your elegance, with both of them. Whose words would tumble over each other and pelt. Sometimes you become too talkative. you talk a lot, whose words would tumble over each other and pelt from pure excitement, whose fingers carol and melt when you are friendly. He's very minute here, talking about, some details of her character and her actions. I shall remember you in bed with bright eyes, or in a cafe stirring coffee abstractedly, and on your plate the white smoking stub your lips had touched with crimson. So I remember you in my private moment or in a public moment, whatever. And I shall remember how your words could hurt because they were so honest. She is frank, and even your lies were able to assert integrity of purpose. Even you lied reasonably. So you see, he loves this definitely everything she is, even her lying. He's justifying her lies. And it is on the strength of knowing you, I reckon, generous feeling more important than the mere deliberating what to do, when neither the pros nor cons affect the pulses. So when I cannot decide by my head, I can decide by my heart, because my heart is filled with you. Yeah, that with generosity you have filled my heart. So whenever I cannot decide, I just go to my heart and ask my heart what to do. And finally, and though I have suffered from your special strength, who never flatter, nor points, nor fake responses, you may think this as flattery, but let me tell you that I should be proud if I could evolve, develop at length an equal thrust and pattern. I try to make a theme of you. I try, though you may consider this as flattery, but I try to create a poem, a pattern in which you appear like this. And the poem was the pattern of hair characteristics. So the theme of the poem is hair. And this is how he develops her image in the poem. So thank you for listening, and I hope I can see you in my next videos.